I know what you're thinking. Khalilah, didn't we just do a whole unboxing? Okay, yes, but this is very different, babes. Very, very different. Let me tell you why. Those books that we did in the last book haul, first of all, I titled it a book haul. This is book mail, so that's already one difference. Secondly, all of those books that we talked about in the last video, those were gifted to me. Not a coin was spent. I either got them from shelves in the city when we went to LA, or my great friends, Shaughnessy, she gave me books, and then other publishers gave me books. So not a coin was spent in the last video. I plead the fifth. But this video, you're gonna have to lock me up because I definitely spent my own money on these books, but they all have a great reason and they're all from different places and I just want to get into them with you. So buckle up, girlfriend, like and subscribe, get ready because we have a lot to talk about. I know it doesn't look like it, but I also have a box over here. First one up, I am super excited to talk about. I'm actually currently reading this on my Kindle, and that is The Roommate Risk. This is by Talia Hibbert. Now, I've read one book from her before. I believe we read it last summer, and it was Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute. That book, I gave a 3-star rating, and I didn't think much of it. I thought her writing was okay, but it didn't really stand out to me. And I mentally told myself, if I read something from her, it's not gonna be that big of a deal, but I'm not gonna actively look for her literature anymore because this book was just okay for me, and it was a bit immature. Now, Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute is a YA novel, and it was very like vanilla. There was no spice. It was very teenage angst type of situation. It was about these two kids that go to the same high school. They used to be friends when they grew up, but the guy, he got a little cute and a little popular and kind of forgot about her a little bit, and then they became enemies. So it went from being friends to becoming enemies and then having to work together on this camp project and then becoming lovers. So that was an interesting story, but it was very immature and I felt like I was not the age range that she was looking for. I do believe that if I was younger, I probably would have really enjoyed that book and really liked that book. But because I am the age that I am, I'm like, oh, that was okay. It was nice though, because it was 2 black main characters, so a black female character and a black male main character. So that was nice, but there wasn't much else for me to really take away from the book. And I honestly kind of forgot about it after I read it. So I'm giving you all of that backstory to say, when it came to this book, I did not expect anything from it. I honestly just was like, I need to find a book to read because this book is what I call my gym book. And when I'm at the gym, whenever I finish my workout, no matter what kind of day it is, it could be a leg day, arm day, blah, blah, blah. When I finish my workout, I usually spend 10 to 15 minutes on the treadmill after. And instead of being on my phone, I try to do something else productive. So I always read a book. So that's why I have my gym book. Now there is one day a week where I just do nothing but treadmill. And then I read for like an hour on the treadmill. And then again, I have my gym book. So I just finished my other gym book and I was like, I need something else. Let me find something. This was on Kindle Unlimited. I have Kindle Unlimited. And I was like, you know what? It sounds interesting enough. It's about this girl. She went to college. She's a black main character. Love that. And she goes to college. She's super popular. Everyone loves her. She just has such a charismatic, amazing personality. She's an extrovert. She's really cool, very kind, very understanding, and she's very funny. Everyone loves her, including this little guy here. But he's like in love with her. From the first moment he sees her in the library, and he's like, I need that, whatever that is, that energy that she has, I need it and I want to worship her for the rest of my life. So immediately they become friends, but she's the type of person that either we're friends or we're lovers. And if we're lovers, I only want one thing from you.
Y'all know what's going on, and so do I.
I'm closed off emotionally. I got a lot going on. She has her own demons that she's dealing with. And so once they become friends, they kind of get into a little entanglement like really early on. And after they sleep together, she's like, okay, well, bye, because he wanted to hang out with her after. And she was like, no, I don't do that. And so she literally told him, either we're friends and nothing else romantic or physical is going to happen with us, or we're just going to keep this strictly physical, and then once I'm done with you, we're done. He was pining for her so bad. He was like, I would rather be your friend and never be able to have you the way that I want you than not have you in my life at all. Where are the piners in life? Where are men like this? I need it. But anyway, we're not talking about me. After that, he spent the last 7 years, count them, 7 years pining over this woman, still being in love with her, and she never giving him the time of day.
Wow, man. Damn.
But let me tell you, so after they have been friends for 7 years, he's now her best friend. 7 years later, they're best friends. He's still in love with her. And one day, something happens to her flat. They live in London, by the way, so they say flat instead of apartment. And she has nowhere to go. She comes from a very privileged family, but her family earned that money. And she doesn't like asking her dad for money. So she would rather try to figure it out on her own than try to ask her dad for money. And this guy, he's like, you're not doing that. You have to stay with me until your apartment is fixed. So obviously it's forced proximity. I love that. And you know, I don't like friends to lovers. I like for a man to hate me.
Weird, buddy. You're weird.
And yet, I am eating this up. I'm like 150 pages in. It's a very short book. It's not very long. Yeah, it's like less than 300 pages. Very short. But I am loving it. Usually when I'm reading my gym book, it's strictly for the gym. I don't read it any other time. But yet, I've been reading this at home when I'm not supposed to. And anyway, so now she's in his apartment. Now they're living together, very close on. And she's realizing, I think I do have feelings for him. But again, she has her own demons. And she's like, I can't really be with anyone right now because I don't know how to be with people. And they explain why. I'm not going to give you that information because that would be a spoiler. But I'm just saying, I did not expect much from Talia Hibbert. I wasn't really happy after the first book that I read. It wasn't bad again, but I was just like, oh, that was so plain. But this one is very, very different. This is not YA. It got spicy immediately, but it wasn't like overdoing it, and it made sense for why she brought it up and, you know, why it happened. And I'm just loving their interaction. She's a very strong female lead, and sometimes I like that, sometimes I don't, only because it's like, I feel like sometimes the authors don't make it realistic because they overcompensate, trying to make her so independent, so blah, 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 that she's like not even relatable, like to where she's annoying sometimes. And I think that she's not like that. She is a perfect balance of being like super independent and like also being a girl, you know, just being a girl. So far I'm really enjoying it. Again, I haven't finished it yet, but I've already read 100 pages and I am eating it up. So that is why I wanted to get the physical book, because I liked it so much on my Kindle that I'm like, I kind of want this on my bookshelf. So this is book number 1. Now, because I'm trying to stop buying so much stuff off of Amazon just because it's like not good, I got this book from World of Books. This is a secondhand online store where it's actually based in the UK, and they get a lot of their books and their inventory from secondhand shops. And this was on there. I think there's only like 3 or 4 copies. They may have more now because they always update their inventory. It was something that I just found on a whim, this website, and I'm in love. I think I'm going to start buying my books from there now because this is perfect condition. Again, secondhand, and yet this looks gorgeous. And I just love finding other things in other places where I can really give my money and have like my conscience still. So I got that from there. And I also got this next book, Hunchback, from World of Books as well. Hunchback is a novel by a Japanese author that I actually found by Jack Edwards. Now, y'all know I'm obsessed with Jack Edwards. Anything he recommends is usually like a 4 or 5 star for me. So when I saw him reading this on Instagram, I was like, oh, we need to add this. This book is about Shaka. She's a Japanese woman with a congenital muscle disorder. So she lives in a care home a little bit outside of Tokyo. And from there, she talks about how she can't really do anything in her life on her own. She has no autonomy, but she fights for it. She fights for it a lot. And she talks about how they don't really look at her as a person because she is disabled. And unfortunately in Japan, unlike in the US, they don't have as many rights as disabled people here. And she talks about how even though her body might not do what she wants it to do, her mind is sharp and her wit is there. And she writes like erotica online, fantastical erotica online. And she kind of is a troll online because she has nowhere else to put all her energy, her fury. And so she tweets and she does all of these things. And one day she puts up a ridiculous order online where she offers someone a huge amount of money to kind of be her sperm donor. And to her surprise, her own personal nurse says yes. And she talks about that journey and how it changed her, not only as a person, but as a woman. And it's basically a feminist story talking about the female body and having autonomy, what it means to have autonomy and why it's so important, especially as a disabled person. And apparently it's very funny, it's very insightful, and it's taking another view of society, her society, what she's used to, and kind of forcing it to look at its own prejudices, you know what I'm trying to say. It's making it look at its own issues and try to fix them from the inside out. And I thought that that sounded so good. And the little parts that Jack kind of highlighted and showed us on his story sounded really good. They were talking about how some buildings don't even have wheelchair accessible buildings, and how it's kind of shunned upon or not looked at in society if you're disabled, and how that feels as a disabled person in a society like that. And as an able-bodied person, she talks about how you're kind of ignorant to your privilege, and it's very humbling, and it forces you to be uncomfortable and to look at the things that you kind of take for granted. And I'm always looking for something that's going to make me think, something that's going to make me see someone else's perspective so that I can build my empathy. And this just sounds like the perfect thing. And it's also very short. I really like this cover too. He had the other cover which had 2 flowers on it. I'll put it here, but I think I like this one better. I think it's just really pretty, and I'm really interested to read this because I think that this would be a quick, fun, interesting read, and it's also going to be something that I think I can have a lot of commentary on. Now, the next group of books here I did unfortunately get from Daddy Bezos, but only because I needed to film this video and I needed these books too soon, and on World of Books it just takes a little bit too long, so I did need to get them from there. But from here on out, because there's no rush, I definitely will be buying all my books, or as many as possible, from the World of Books. And the first one I want to start off with is Last Summer in the City. This is actually from an Italian author. This was recently just translated in English. It was initially published in 1970 in Italian, but now it's in English. It's considered an Italian classic. It's literary fiction. It's a summer book. It's a summer read, and it sounds so good. The reason why I got this one in particular is because when we went to St. Lucia this year, when I went with Shaughnessy and Jordan and some other influencers, Jordan was actually reading this, and she would read some quotes and excerpts from this book, and it sounded so good, so romantic. I just immediately fell in love with it, and I knew I needed to read this. Now, I will say on a side note, I love this cover so much. The cover is just so gorgeous. It's so simple. I love things that are simple and yet so elegant, and this is that. But her copy is red, and I'll show you a picture of it here, and that's how I wanted mine to be. But for some reason mine came orange, and I feel like it takes the beauty out of it. It's not as pretty as like a red book, and I don't know. I feel like I love red. I think red is the perfect accent color, especially when you're wearing it as a woman. But this, the orange, I was so surprised when I got it. I was like, wow, what the heck is this? It like just takes the joy out of it. I don't know. But anyway, this book is very interesting because it's about this Italian man. He lives in Italy. He is in his 30s, and he has absolutely no ambitions in life. He doesn't want to do anything, even though all around him, his rich friends, his well-educated friends are getting married, having children. They want to find other ways to get rich. They have so much ambition. They care about their jobs. He, on the other hand, has job after job. He's bouncing from job after job. He doesn't really care about them. He has no ambitions at all. There's nothing he wants to do. And it's following that story of him just being in an alcoholic haze throughout this summer, jumping from party to hotel and just trying to figure out his life and seeing what the point of life is, basically. And it just sounds so beautiful, so romantic. The way this author wrote, from the things that I heard, was just so lyrical and just so beautiful. And she would just read these random things with no context. I had no context about where they were coming from, and yet I was immediately enthralled. So I was like, okay, I need to read this book. She hasn't finished it yet, so I don't know her full opinion on it, but I needed it for myself because it just sounded so beautiful. And I think that with summer coming up, this is going to be the perfect beach read. Now, I have to warn you, all of these books are very odd or very different because I noticed that within the recent months or so, I've been reading a lot of like popular culture and pop books that are just so far removed from why I love reading that I really needed to take a step back and see why I was reading them. And I realized I was reading a lot of these romance books or a lot of these popular books because I wanted to stay within the times, and like everyone else is reading them and I want to make sure I had opinions on them too. And it was kind of just like FOMO, I guess. But as I continued reading them, I noticed that my love for reading started to change and not only diminish a little bit, but also like didn't seem as important to me. And I kind of had to do a little bit of self-reflection and see why. And I realized that I'm reading for others and I'm not reading because of what I love and what I want to do. And it was just like very recently, like I just read a few really popular reads that just came out, and they were all like romance books, and they didn't leave me with anything. I just felt like I'm reading the same thing over and over again, just a different font, and it just kind of made me numb to reading. And I hate that because reading in its purest form, is just supposed to be something that brings you joy. I personally love reading because I love learning, and I love learning from different people's perspectives, and that is my version and definition of joy within reading. And because of that, I need to stay true to my definition of why I love reading. And so I did a little bit of self-reflection, realized that that was the reason, and that's why all of these books are more personalized to me and not what's popular. So I just want to give you that forewarning a little bit so you understand why these books are kind of odd, because I think recently I've just been reading so much popular content that it just wasn't resonating with me seriously. So that's why I gave you that little introduction before this one, because it is called The Master and Margarita. This is considered a modern day classic in Russian literature. And can we just talk about this cover? It was originally published in the 60s, I think late 60s. It's all about the Soviet Union and the life of people who lived during that time in the 30s. And I am just so obsessed with this. When I saw this and I heard about it, I was like, you're coming home with me. It's just so stunning. I literally can't stop looking at it. I think this is the prettiest cover I have now on my bookshelf. I almost dropped it there. On my bookshelf, and it just sounds as good as it looks as well. This is supposed to be a very humorous, very audacious retelling of the stories of Faust and Pontius Pilate. This is supposed to be a very audacious, very humorous retelling of the stories of Faust and Pontius Pilate. And it talks about this one spring that the devil comes and visits Moscow. And he's not alone. He comes with a beautiful naked witch and a black cat that can talk and also loves chess and vodka. So you already know where the story is going. It's very out there, outlandish, and it sounds so good. Now, as soon as these visitors come, they immediately wreak havoc because this town does not believe in God or Satan. And so to have the devil there is obviously very jarring for these people. But they also bring peace to two people who live in Moscow. One is the master. He is someone who writes, and the second is Margarita, someone who is so in love with the master that she will literally go to hell for him. And it follows that story of these two people and these visitors in Moscow. There's supposed to be a ton of like philosophical depth, humor, and just a really interesting look on life from this book. And I'm just so excited to read it. I've heard nothing but good things. It has an incredible rating on Goodreads. And I just want to expand my worldview a little bit. And I've never read anything by a Russian author. I did start Dostoevsky. I can never say his name right. I did start one of his books, but they're so thick and so dense that I wasn't able to finish it last fall. And I feel like with his books, the one that I was reading in particular was Crime and Punishment. I feel like that's a book that I want to read in the fall time. So I want to go back to that this fall, but in the interim, I do want to read this. Now, this next one, I'm actually super excited about because it's been on my wish list for a very long time. And while I was just buying these other books, I was like, why not just get it? And that is All That Remains. This is a book, it's kind of a true crime podcast slash a memoir from a forensic scientist, and it's from her perspective on death. So she's seen a lot of tragic deaths in her life. Her life is in death, which is so interesting. I've never heard of someone's life experience who does something like this all day, every day, looking at human remains and our just mortal state and how our body kind of decomposes. And it's not just the medicine behind it and the anthropology behind it, but it's also like her perspective on death and how she views it and her insight a little bit. And she's kind of a guide for the reader, not only in the true crime aspect, but also in the aspect of death. That is something that's going to touch every single person in life, period. And the fact that she walks you through it, her experience with it, I feel like it's just a great, refreshing look and perspective on something that everyone is going to go through. And though, yes, like you expect a book like this to be sad, I don't think that it is. It's just more of a factual thing. And she adds a lot of humor in it. Apparently, that's what I've read from the reviews, and I'm just really interested to see what life looks like on her end and how she has perceived something that we're all going to go through and the things that I can learn from this, because I think fundamentally on some basic level, just on an animalistic level, everyone's a little bit afraid of death, on just ceasing to exist. And the fact that she sees this every day, she knows a little bit more than I do. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how her perspective on death and her knowledge on death and what happens to the body, not only physically, but also like the mental constraints of that as well, and how that impacts people around you. I wonder how that is going to change my perspective on death. And I just feel like this would be a really fun, interesting read, just so that I can grow in that aspect of my own mind and my own ideology. Now, this next one is probably the most tame out of all of the books that we just talked about, and that is Charming Falls Apart. Look at this cover. It is so cute, and it just sounds so interesting. Now, this one, I couldn't really sum up in my own words, but I love what Goodreads has to say about it, so we're going to read it together. It says, Allison James is a people pleaser and rule follower, but the day before her 35th birthday, that all backfires. She is unexpectedly fired from her public relations firm she's worked at for 12 years. And not only that, she comes home early to find her fiance sleeping with her maid of honor. Oh! The way I would crash all the way out. Right before my birthday, I get fired, and then my maid of honor betrays me, and then I lose a fiance? That's how you create a villain. That's how you create a murderer. Anyway, feeling lost, Allison takes her friend Jordan's advice and uses that time off for some self-reflection. Over the next few months, she devours countless self-help books, although skeptically, schedules a soul reading with an astrologer, psychic, magician, and goes on a meditation retreat in Costa Rica, where she finally feels like she's getting back into her own groove. Back at home, though, her desire to escape the condo she once shared with her fiance makes her a regular at a new coffee house in her neighborhood, where she finds guidance and a little eye candy from the attractive owner, Eric. Between Jordan's support, the Barnes & Noble self-help aisle, and this new guy, Eric, Allison gradually discovers that her old life wasn't as perfect as she thought it was, and that if she truly wants to find her happily ever after, she's gonna have to redo her own rules. And that just sounds so good. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a new modern day Eat, Pray, Love. I don't know if y'all remember that book, but that book was taking over the world when it first came out. And it sounds very reminiscent to that. And so I'm excited because I did read Eat, Pray, Love when it initially came out, but I was like in high school, didn't know anything about life. So I'm really interested to see what a book like that will do to me now, because I feel like I'm kind of in that space now, but obviously I have no love of my life and no treacherous friends. So we'll see what this is going to be like for me. And those are all the books that I have physically, but there is one more book that I'm waiting on from World of Books. And this book, dare I say, is the most important one because it is a book from my childhood. If you guys already watched the video where I talk about my lore, and in that video I talked about The Tale of Emily Winnap and how that book quite literally changed my life. And so I was like, I wonder if I can find the original book set that I saw at the Scholastic School Fair. The Scholastic School Fair. If I can find it again online. And what do you know? The World of Books had it for me. It had the exact one that I was talking about. The one with the 2 drawers and the little necklace, the little starfish necklace. And when I saw it, I was this close to crying. Like, it's so weird how you carry this little child in you still. And it's so interesting to know how important your childhood is to the rest of your life. Like, those few years, in the grand scheme of things, isn't really that long, but they set the tone for the rest of your life. And the fact that I had such an emotional pull to it when I saw it, and it was only $12.99, or I think $11.99 actually. And so when I saw it, I was like, I need to have this. It was in perfect condition. It looked so good. And so I'm patiently waiting for that in the mail. I'm literally so excited. Obviously, I am not the demographic now. It's literally for people in like 3rd to 7th grade. But you know what? In my heart, I'm still a mermaid. And this book is about a little girl who lives on a boat with her mom, and she is trying to find her own dad. And she realizes that she's a mermaid and her dad is a merman. And so from there, you not only watch her try to discover herself and navigate this new world of hers, but also like reconnect with her dad and all of these things. And it just was so beautiful. And I remember being so obsessed with it. I remember how hard I worked to get that book. So naturally, just for my own soul, just for my own inner child, I got that book, and I probably will reread it. But I'm also a little bit on the fence about rereading it just because I don't want to ruin that magic for me. I like looking back at that and being so fond of it and thinking that it was the most perfect book that I've ever read in my life. Because when I reread Twilight, I was in for a rude awakening. I could not believe this is what I was obsessed with. Because the writing is not as good as I thought it was, unfortunately. Obviously, naturally, in my heart, it's still a 5-star. I'm never going to rate any of the Twilight series lower than a 5-star. But it did tarnish the view of it in my head a little bit, and that made me really sad. So I don't really want to do that with this. I think I just need it on my bookshelf for me, just so that you know when you see this bookshelf, this is Khalilah's bookshelf. Like, this meant something to her. So I don't know if I will reread it. Let me know in the comments if I should. I don't know. I'm kind of scared. But I just know that I need it just for my inner child. And those are all the books that I bought for myself recently. Now, this box of books that I showed y'all in the very beginning, these books were given to me by Penguin Random House, and we can do a very rapid fire on these just because I've never read any of them. I don't know much about any of them. And the only books that I know that I really want to read from this one that I already had on my TBR is this first one. It is The Dream Hotel. This is a book that actually came out this year. For some reason, they gave me the large print one, so that's really interesting. It's like huge. The font is really big, but I heard that this book is really good. It's very different, and I've been eyeing it for a long time. So I was really happy when I saw this in the mail. And then we have a classic. This is Giovanni's Room. This is written by James Baldwin. I've never read this, so I was really happy when I saw this in here. We also got Chemistry. This other one is called The Verifiers. This is by Jane Peck, and this sounds so good. It's about this girl. She is basically working for a company that allows her to be a romantic detective, and she sees if people are cheating and things. She is a Chinese woman in America, America, and her family does not agree with her life choices. She doesn't like men, first of all. They wanted her to marry a nice Chinese boy. She's not into that. She wants a girlfriend, and her family is not okay with that, and they also don't like her choice in job. And so she's kind of just ignoring her family a little bit and just living life on her own terms. And in that time, when she's working at this company, one of her clients goes missing. So it's part like a mystery thriller / like an immigrant family story, and it just sounds really good. It's not like anything that I've heard of before, and I just love books that are like that. So this one I was very excited about as well. Then we have some Toni Morrison. I love this woman. She does not care about my feelings, but I know that this book is going to be good. This book I've heard some things about, but I haven't read it, obviously. It's about two different characters, and I know that one is black and one is white, but she doesn't tell you which one is which, and you have to face your own stereotypes and try to figure out which character is white and which character is black and why you believe that. And that sounds so good. Then we also have a classic, Girl Interrupted, The Center of the Universe. I don't know what this is about, but it's a gorgeous cover. The next one is Please Look After Mom. I know this book is by an Asian author, and it's about this story about this girl who loses her mom at like a train station or something, and it follows her and her family try to find her, and it's really heartbreaking. I believe it's a true story, or it's based off of true story, and it just sounds like something I definitely need to read. Never Whistle at Night. This is an anthology of a bunch of different stories, and I heard that this is really good. It has amazing ratings on Goodreads, and I need something like this because it's about like the indigenous people. Then I also got Emerald City by Jennifer Egan. They sent me another copy of Lessons in Chemistry. I've had this book on my shelf for the longest time, and I still have not read it. Now I have 2 copies of it. It's getting ridiculous at this point. I hope to read it this year, but I just don't think I'll have the time. Worst case scenario, or best case scenario, I'll probably read this next year. Then they gave me even more Stephen King. I got Carrie, which I heard is terrifying. I remember the movie being very scary. I also got another copy of Salem's Lot. And then I got The Shining, which I hear is like the scariest. I think it's between this one and Pet Sematary. That's like his scariest work. So I feel like we should probably read this fall. I think you guys are going to be excited about this one because I finally have a copy of The Night Circus. I did not buy it. It was given to me. And now you guys can shut up about it because I'm finally going to read it. I hope it's as good as everyone has been saying because I've heard nothing but good things, and every time we go to Barnes, someone in the comments is upset that I did not pick this up, and now we have it, so this is for you. They also gave me The Handmaid's Tale. This is terrifying because the United States is looking kind of like this, but I do need to read it. Green Frog, yet another copy of The Secret History. I just need to read this at this point. It's getting ridiculous. And last but not least, I got Sea Change, and those are all the books I got recently. I cannot believe we keep racking up these books. Like, it's huge waves of books, and I have no idea where we're gonna put this. I do want to let y'all know, behind us I have my TV right next to my couch, and I'm thinking maybe I should take my TV down because I don't really use it. I really only use it for lo-fi when I'm studying or working, and I can use that space for bookshelves. So I'm thinking we should just add some bookshelves there. Let me know in the comments if you think that that's a good idea, if we should make like another updated room tour situation, if we do it, if we should do it together. Let me know because that has definitely been on my brain lately. And with that TV, I'm always having some type of issue with it. So I feel like I should just get rid of it now and use that space and put it to good use. And this is like the perfect use. So let me know if I'm on the right track there. I love y'all so much. Those are all the books that I've gotten recently. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you guys very soon.